Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about what we can learn from the death of Queen Elizabeth II for our Dungeons and Dragons games and how it impacts our Dungeons and Dragons game as we watch this really historic moment unfold for the United Kingdom and for America, because America's got a lot at stake with Queen Elizabeth II, with her passing. There's the distinct possibility of an American king on the British throne. That's amazing. Meghan Markle's son, Prince Archie, right? Royal blood. And if there's enough abdications, American king on a British throne. That's exciting. So we got a lot at stake here. All right. So what should we be paying attention to? So we really, because we are tasked with accurately, appropriately modeling nobility in specific realms in Dungeons and Dragons. Those realms are specifically Keoland, Greyhawk, Exandria, and Dragonlance. All use kings and queens, right? And we're responsible to model that correctly in our Dungeons and Dragons game, and that means we need to watch when nobility events occur in our own real world so that we can model it effectively. It can be relevant for our players. So there's a big question happening right now with Elizabeth. So, there's just a cascade of events that are happening with the death of Queen Elizabeth II. And one of the biggest ones is what happens to her dogs. So she leaves behind a Corgi, and she also leaves behind a Cocker Spaniel, right? And immediately the question came up of, oh my gosh, who has ownership of these dogs and who should care for these dogs? And it's a big question. It's not really clear, right? So I think, one, there's a few things that are clear. These absolutely cannot be cared for by Prince Charles III. If he shows even a fraction of the cruelty he showed to Princess Diana, those dogs would be in horrible danger. I just we saw how he treated the greatest princess who ever lived, and he is in no way should be treated with I don't think he should be. No one should be under his rulership or his care, right? So these dogs should definitely not go to him. Prince William. So Princess Diana had two sons, Prince William and Prince Harry. I think the logical answer would that they go to Prince William, but the problem is he was raised by King Charles, right? And again, I don't think that Prince William, he seems like a nice enough guy. I don't think he has that cruel streak in him that King Charles has. But where would he have learned kindness, right? And so certainly not from his father, right? So I don't think he's a good person to take it over. Harry has already demonstrated that he has all the kindness and all the civility and all the wisdom of his mother, right? So he would be an excellent person to take. And by the way, he served in the United Kingdom's military, right? Showing both servitude and bravery, right? So I think he is he is an excellent person for those dogs to end up with. But what this really brings into question is what happens when one of our players. So let's just talk about this as players, right? If one of our fellow player characters, familiar, let's talk about it from the perspective of the dungeon master. If a player character dies, right, and they are a wizard, they have a familiar. If they have a paladin, they have a mount. If they have a ranger, they have a companion, right? And with new Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, that ranger could be a Drake Warden, so they could have a Drake, right? So here's the thing. As a dungeon master, first thing you want to do is you want to drive a strong narrative. So the moment one of your player characters dies, just like Queen Elizabeth II, they're going to leave a companion, a familiar, a mount, right? And the first thing that happens is that thing should not pop back into any of those realms, right? Because that's cruel to say, oh, your master's dead and you pop back into this realm and never return, right? So the first thing you're going to do as dungeon masters, make the correct narrative choice, and the familiar, the mount, or the companion remains, right? So the player character is gone, but the other player characters now have the question of, oh my gosh, what do I do with this paladin mount? What do I do with this familiar mount? Or what do I do with this paladin mount? What do I do with this familiar? Or what do I do with this ranger's companion, right? And this is a fantastic opportunity for a real narrative, for narrative growth among other player characters, and to exhibit a fantastic relationship that is quite unexpected in Dungeons and Dragons. So if you have a barbarian and now he's got a wizard's frog, how does that, and he needs to now care for this wizard frog to honor that old player character. What happens? Does the barbarian and the frog become best friends? Or does the frog become the barbarian's next meal? Ooh, you know what I mean? And so there's lots of very interesting opportunities to explore an incredibly rare relationship of a familiar, a mount, or a companion, animal, beast, or even a monster, right, from the Dungeons & Dragons realms, with a player character they were never intended to be with. So this is a fantastic story opportunity. It challenges your players. It challenges you as a dungeon master. And in order to see how this should be appropriately handled, we should carefully watch what actually does happen with Queen Elizabeth's Corgi and Cocker Spaniel. And we will know because every detail is being covered by the mainstream media. All that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.